Yo, what's going on guys? Rhys here from Stoic Pool, and in this episode of Catalyst Talk, I sit down with Tom from ZiberBugs to talk about his play and earn game on the Cardano blockchain. It's a really cool project. They've done loads of stuff with the community already, including SPOs for small stake pool operators, which is a fantastic initiative. I really like the project. And so with that being said, let's get into it. Right, guys, so I'm joined with Tom here from ZiberBugs. So Tom, do you just want to introduce yourself and a little bit about the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tom. My two other co-founders are Simon and Fabio from Stockholm. And I'm here in Vancouver, BC, on the west coast of Canada. And one of the great things about those two cities is we have a very strong video game presence. A lot of big companies in Vancouver and in Stockholm that are building games, and so we all have a pretty strong connection to the video game world. And then we're all huge crypto fans as well, and so creating this company seemed like a very natural step for all of us.
Yeah, awesome. And can you just tell us a little bit about the ZiberBugs project? Is it ZiberBugs? I am saying that right, aren't I?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Yeah, because whenever somebody says ZiberBugs, I always cringe internally. I think that is a stupid sounding name, but ZiberBugs is what it's called. And cool. So basically it's a play to earn NFT game on the Cardano network. And the reason that we decided to do that, well, choosing Cardano was actually a pretty important step for us. We looked at a lot of different networks, but we've always been fans of Cardano. We really think it's it's going to be one of the biggest and one of the most stable networks going forward. And you kind of see that right now with mostly everything crashing. But anyway, so we chose Cardano, and about the project itself is that it's an NFT play to earn game. And when we were designing what it was going to be like, we wanted to do two really important things. First thing, we wanted to make it a very fun game because you probably are aware, I'd say most, if not all, of the kind of current crop of play to earn games are more like grinding for money, and they wouldn't stand on their own against a traditional video game that was the point of which is to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy a video game that isn't fun, and so the incentives are what they are. So we wanted to make sure it was fun. I could talk about exactly why we believe it will be, and we also looked at the grandfather in the space is Axie Infinity, and they did so many groundbreaking things economically, and yet left a lot on the table. Right, when you kind of look at the way their economy has been progressing, you can see that it's getting harder and harder to get involved in playing as the price of getting involved gets higher, and less rewarding to play as the earning token sort of plummets towards zero.
Yeah. And
so we really wanted to take an economic perspective on this and make it into a game that would be sustainable, so that, and really on those two levels, that getting in will never be so expensive that it's prohibitive, and that the earning token will stay there. And we can get into the details of exactly how that works, but we believe that we've got a solution to that problem.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about that quickly, right? Because this is quite an interesting thing about play to earn, because when it comes to earning money, like I'm self-employed, so I'm just used to kind of getting up and working, and that's what my life is. So when something like this comes around, I think about how I can make money in the easiest way possible, and that's it, right? So what are you doing to actually kind of work around people like me, basically?
Yeah, so how are we going to make it into a good earning platform, right? So two things. First of all, making it so you can get in a reasonable fashion. But the biggest thing is making sure that the earning token, because there's two tokens, the Zyber, which is kind of the main one that you would use to buy and to breed bugs. The breeding system is actually a little bit complicated and sometimes would require other inputs as well. But the secondary token, the earning token, is called Pharaoh, which is pheromones. So there's a whole natural ecosystem of bugs where there are eggs, and there's sort of fertilization, and there's crossbreeding, and one of the steps in the breeding sequence is the excretion of pheromones that are used to help to convince the queen to lay an egg. Right?
Okay. And what with that, you then basically breed certain kinds of bugs? Because there's a couple of classes of the bugs, isn't there? Is there like three or
I
four?
think that the MVP version is that there's 3 races of bugs, which if you go to the website, there's a video that talks about the gameplay, and you can see that there's 3 races to start with. And basically that's kind of the tanks and the flying ones, and the third one is eluding me, but
the other ones.
Yeah, there you go. And all 3 of those can crossbreed in each way. So there's 9 combinations. So for example, if you breed the tank one with the flyer, then you have something that's got both flying capability and is tougher than the regular flyers.
Okay, yeah, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? The way that kind of works. But I thought you meant when you said there were 3 main kind of types, I thought you meant there were like 3 different factions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, the way the game basically progresses is that, first of all, you would purchase your NFT bugs. You would choose 6 from your stable of bugs to bring to the battlefield, right? So there's this, and we've actually started to build out our prototype, and of course we've got graphics already produced and stuff. So we know a lot about what the game will look like. There's this hexagonal field full of little hexagons.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen it.
Yeah, there you go. And you bring your bugs and you place them into strategically important places. And the first player places 1, player 2 places 2, player 1 places another 2 until you've all placed all 6 bugs. One of the things I really like about it, I'm a chess player, among other things.
Okay, yeah.
And so the positional nature of the game to me is one of the things that makes it really interesting. But it's not just I have the most powerful bugs, but I also know how to put them into the most useful arrangement, depending on what kind of capabilities I brought to the battle, right?
Yeah.
And then it progresses to be 9 rounds of that. And in the middle, you can get kind of bonuses. You can power up in different ways. And of course, each time you win a round, then you have different opportunities. And so the game progresses in that way. And at the end, there's an overall winner. And the overall winner will earn this Pharaoh cryptocurrency token, which they could turn around and sell on the market, or they could use it as part of the breeding, right? Because you can also breed NFTs and sell the NFTs or use them yourself, right? So we have all of those options. And of course, that's the big thing about play to earn games, is that the ecosystem is open to the world. And so the assets that you have, you own them, and you can do what you like with them. You can sell them, or you can use them in the game.
Yeah, I think that's quite nice that you could. It's not just like there's a single token and that's used to play, and it's used to earn, and it's used to like splitting them up and kind of having different functions of different tokens is, I think, going to really help keep the earning part kind of stable and the actual game part playable as well, which is quite important.
Yeah, and we have a lot of other strategies. This is a really good segue into one of the important things about ZiberBugs, which is that there are 5 different strategies that we have to keep the ecosystem sustainable, which is to say, to keep the value of the earning token high, right? So, for example, all the fees from the marketplace are used to buy Pharaoh tokens, right? So that there's a constant demand, and that keeps it high. And there's a number of other strategies. They're all outlined in our dark paper on ZiberBugs.io. But we've really thought it through. But to me, the simple way of thinking about it is that our model is not greedy. That we're reinvesting a lot of the profits. I really need to mute this messenger thing going on. This was like my last meeting too. You probably edit this part out, but I'm going to mute this for an hour.
I might leave it in. Some fun.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm also a barbershop quartet singer, and that right now the big international contest is happening, and a bunch of the people I sing with are at home and they're watching the webcast of the barbershop quartet competition, the global competition, currently happening in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they're like live messaging everything they think, and so this is why it's like there's a crazy amount of traffic, and it needs to be muted.
So what's your role in the barbershop quartet? I imagine you're doing a bit of a falsetto.
A falsetto? No, I sing bass. I sing bass in the quartet, and I sang in a world champion quartet in around the middle of like in 2005. We won, and that's actually how I know Simon, because Simon's another guy who sings in barbershop quartets, and he should have a quartet in the top 5 of the European Open contest, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice. What? So he already has. He won that. Like, was it like a qualifier for the world thing?
They're not actually connected. I think you.
Oh, right. Okay.
There's a whole. It's complicated. This is more barbershop info than you need on your.
From the video, I might be mistaken by this, but from the video on the site, it seemed like the kind of playing part is positioning the bugs on the field essentially, and then once everything's placed, you kind of press play and see what happens. Is that right?
That's right. It's an auto battler, and so getting back to the whole why is it fun to play thing. It builds on one of the most popular auto battler in the regular video game world, which is called Teamfight Tactics. And it's not quite the same, but it steals a lot of concepts from that game. And that's the most popular esports game. This is going to be a game that is designed to be broadcast and to be competitive in that way. And this comes from Simon's former life as a competitive video game player. He's been a huge video gamer for a decade or more, and he's really the original founder. And it's his idea. He brought me on because first of all, we know each other, we trust each other, and we're both crypto fans. And because I've been the CEO of a tech company for the last 13 years, and so I have a different skill set from what he has. I'm the CEO. He's the CTO and the kind of the game visionary, and then Fabio is the creative director. And so all the amazing graphics and kind of the look and feel of the Cyberverse world comes from Fabio's inspiration.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I was actually going to ask you what kind of games you like playing. I mean, we got through chess already. I love chess as well. I've got a Sheep vs Dragons chessboard.
Oh, nice!
Which I love. But I don't have a lot of people to play with. My girlfriend doesn't play, and so I'm very much out of practice. But I really want to get back into it because it's such a fun game to play, and it's one of those things that you learn to think well when you play chess, because everything can cost you, and everything has to be like an intentional decision. Otherwise, someone will take advantage of it, essentially.
That's right.
And,
I love it. Both players have complete information. It's really good. I'm lucky because I now have a son who's 16 years old who enjoys playing chess, and so I have an in-person chess partner built in.
Oh, that's good.
It's good. He's starting to beat me too. So.
Yeah, well, that's good, right? That means he's learning well.
Yeah. It's mixed feelings. I want to win, but I'm proud of him for winning as well.
I'd be like that as well. When I have little rascals running around, I'm going to teach them chess.
Yeah, you got to do that.
So, anything else that you particularly like playing?
Well, I have played video games right from, I don't know I'm going to really age myself here, but the first video game ever created was called Pong. And we had one of those in my, that was the first video game I ever saw. And, it's very simple, right? These paddles go back and forth and you're bouncing a ball.
The sliding
paddles. I've seen every generation of video games from then until now. And at various times, I've been super interested in various games. I remember the boys and I were playing Breath of the Wild on the Switch, like nonstop, right? I loved that game. Can't wait for the next one to come out. Right now, I've been delving quite a bit into an open source phone-based game called Mindustry, which is really interesting challenge. You have to gather resources, and you have to use the resources to build fortifications and to build units, and it's really cool. Yeah, and I've probably played 100 different video games over the years.
Yeah, I banned myself from mobile games because, ever since Candy Crush was like a thing, like 8-10 years ago now, because I realized that I was just waiting to get my next life so I could play at work. And I was like, man, I should be working. Like, what am I doing?
this is probably not ideal. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
so I had to get rid of it, and but it was just so addictive. Like, it's such a stupid thing, right? But it really
Yeah,
is. Like, you just love to play,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. So
No,
since
it's
then, I've
not.
kind of banned myself.
And of course, that's on purpose, right? Like it's the whole thing is they've learned how to hack the dopamine system
Mm.
to get people coming back, right? And that to me is kind of the definition of the mid-core video game segment, where they employ psychologists and all of this stuff to make sure that you come back, in spite of the fact that you're not earning any money. So like this whole it's a really interesting time in the video game progression, over the history of video games, because if you think back to before the free to play games on mobile came out, and the free to play games, think of Candy Crush or
Yeah.
or whatever. And everybody was saying that's crazy. That model will never work. And obviously, it worked like gangbusters, right? Like
Yeah.
it made some very big and very wealthy companies, including King in Stockholm, which is one of the big reasons Stockholm has such a strong video game culture. But now here we are. We're moving into the possibility, because of cryptocurrency and blockchain, of having a play to earn environment. And that really changes things. But you can see the same reaction that the traditional video game VCs, most of them, are having, and the sort of funding organizations are, well, it's never going to work. People aren't going to trust it. People aren't going to like it. And I think it's going to be absolutely huge. I think it's going to be within 5 years, after we're out of the crypto winter here, and people can see which way the wind is blowing, that the traditional video game companies are going to probably start to move in that direction and consolidate and buy these sort of crypto gaming companies to add to their portfolio, because that's what you do as a big company. You don't usually innovate. You
buy the innovation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that's the big payday for the current crop of play to earn games, very likely.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it can be huge. I think a lot of people are really just trying to figure out a sustainable kind of working mechanism for that to actually function. Just like with mobile gaming, once people realized how to not only like monetize the game, but how to encourage people to make like in-app purchases and stuff like that, but also have like a sustainable game for someone to come in and play. Like, because a lot of games like that are basically pay to win,
Yeah, that's right.
If you can figure out how to avoid that, I think you're basically onto a winner, because there's so much interest.
People with a little bit of money, right? And so like my kids were playing Clash of Clans. They're like, Dad, you got to play Clash of Clans. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I'll download Clash of Clans. The difference between them and me is I've got money, and so I'm like, I'm not gonna. Okay, $100 to get way ahead in this game. I like, sign me up all day long, right?
Yeah, that's a deep dark hole, though. I think you don't realize sometimes how much you spend on things like that, especially if you're dropping £100 at a time. Bloody hell!
Yeah.
I've been playing a game called Escape from Tarkov recently, which is like a first-person shooter survival game. So like imagine Call of Duty, where every death matters because you lose all your weapons and like you end up with nothing to run around with, and it's very in-depth and complicated, and I'm terrible at it. I'm so bad.
You'll get there. Practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of like strategy games as well, like this, like ZiberBugs, where you like, I've been playing a lot of Total War and stuff like that, because I quite like that vibe as well. And I think that is something that suits, like this, for example, like a strategy game suits crypto a lot better than something a bit more like GPU heavy, basically, like a first person shooter or something.
Right. Yeah. And this is why Autobattler as well, because it really keeps the architecture very clean and simple. There's not a huge real time requirement for a lot of network traffic to go on. And we also chose to build the game in Unity so that we can pretty quickly, I mean, we're going to release on sort of web first, so you play it in your browser, but Unity can easily generate down to phone platforms and even consoles, right? So we want to knock this out of the park, and we want to be able to release on many platforms. And so people want to play on their phone. Great. We think that the way the game works will scale down to a phone-sized screen beautifully, right? And you imagine you're dragging your bugs onto the field, and we've got the music going, we've got the cinematic camera angles. I think it's going to be really great, right?
That's one thing I actually really liked from the video as well, like the kind of detail that's gone into producing the game. It's not like you've just thrown something up for the sake of making money. You've actually spent time working on the all the different graphics and
right.
I can't remember what you said the guy's name was. Fabio, that was it. I'm glad I didn't say my guess, blimey. But yeah, the work Fabio's done into that is it's really amazing. It looks really good.
Yeah. No, he's a superstar. Yeah, and Simon's an amazing coder. And so the Catalyst grant that we're putting together is obviously, there'd be no reason not to do that. But also it becomes more important in today's environment because with the crypto markets being at a definite emotional lull right now, the enthusiasm people have for throwing money into speculative new companies is lower than it was. And then on the VC side, we had a lot of interesting conversations with Galaxy Digital, with Andreessen Horowitz, with an outfit called Transcend out of Vancouver. And just for various reasons, they're not quite ready to, even if they're crypto friendly. In one case, they had already done a whole bunch of Web3 and they needed to rebalance their portfolio a little bit. And so it wasn't quite the right time. So really, we didn't quite get the initial infusion of capital. So this is where Catalyst comes in for us, right?
Well, let's talk about this proposal, right?
Yeah.
So ZiberBugs playable prototype. So this is going to take it from what you currently have as a working kind of in development project to an actual playable Web3, a web browser-based game, isn't it? It's going to be browser-based.
Yeah, at first. So the MVP will be browser-based. Yeah. Well, it's not even MVP. It's just a prototype.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be able to keep a lot of it. I mean, really, the philosophical decision that had to be made when we were realizing that the wind was blowing in the direction of making it very hard to raise substantial capital. Because our original plan was to raise about $5.5 million and to hire 13 people and to bang this thing out and to make it live.
Yeah.
But when we realized that was going to be much harder through really no fault of our own, it's just the way the world has gone.
Yeah.
We thought, well, to hell with it, we'll just build it ourselves, right? Because so Fabio's figuring out how to take his graphical genius and to move it into Blender instead of into other things, so he can work on those 3D models. And Simon is working on putting it into Unity instead of into where it was going to be before.
Yeah.
And this is what the Catalyst grant is all about, right? We want to be able to, both of these guys still have jobs, right? So they're taking time off to really focus on building this prototype. And it's super important because the difference between having an idea and having an actual working game from the perspective of raising money and showing people that you're serious and showing people that, in fact, the game is fun to play, it's night and day, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people come with ideas, but if you've got an actual prototype, it's going to really set you apart. And well, it's just going to show the work instead of you talking about it, right? So I think that'll definitely help. Yeah.
And I gather that Simon is going to be streaming his coding process. So he'll be just live streaming all the time and people can come and watch. And then, if they have questions, he'll say, oh yeah, that's how this is going to work. And he'll be able to move. I've never heard of live streaming development, but I think it sounds very fun.
Yeah, it's quite popular actually. I really love like pixel art, right? And I've been watching a guy who does game design, like pixel art games, basically just by himself. And it's surprisingly easy to spend your time listening to someone work, right? So I think that'll be really good for promoting the project. Yeah, definitely. Especially if he's working in Unity, because that's kind of a platform that a lot of indie game developers are quite interested in as well.
Yeah, and it's very visual too compared to a lot of other coding. I mean, yeah, there's definitely like screens full of code, but there's also, you're looking at the models and you're we're dealing with the properties. And so it's almost like it unfolds in a more visual and more interesting way than a typical coding experience would.
Yeah, if you've actually got a link to that, that would be really cool to put in the video for anyone watching to check out when it's happening, or at least to follow Simon.
Yeah, I mean, probably we don't have a link yet for that. So we have a pretty substantial Discord and Telegram communities and lots of followers on Twitter. And so you can bet that when that is available, we're going to be spraying it all over the web for people to come and take a look. Yeah. I myself am also, my degree is in computer science. That's back there. I decided to actually hang out my degree when I got this new office. And so Simon and I talk about this at a very sort of deep technical level fairly often. And I love it. I think being the CEO of a tech company is the perfect thing for me.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. And like, this sounds like a really fun project as well. It's something that I'd love to do, right? Games. But I think everyone says that, like, oh yeah, I'd love to be involved in like building a game. But I think there's stuff going on when you're like building dApps or something. You're basically building like very simple user interfaces and connecting them to a back end that does everything complicated. But with a game, it's much more, there's much more kind of visual feedback for the person building it, and it's much more interesting, and there's so many moving parts, and that just sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, there's a psychological angle to the design and building of a game that just isn't present in a DEX or something has this very clear use case, and you use it because you want to do what it's doing. Whereas the only reason you have to play a game, at least a regular game, is to enjoy yourself. And so the psychology is critical, right? How do you get that right? And then with play to earn, there's this other angle where you can hopefully enjoy yourself, like not like the current crop of games, but hopefully you can enjoy what you're doing and realize some kind of benefit for all your labors.
Yeah, because that's one thing that happens a lot in games. Like although I've never been much of a mobile gamer, I know some people who have loved playing like the card games. I completely forget what this one's called.
Like but anyway,
yeah, that's it. Right. So it's a very, very popular mobile game, right? People spend hours and hours playing, but if that stops for whatever reason, all that time's lost. And that's one of the big appeals of like NFT integration into games, right? And the kind of crossover of the metaverse is to be able to actually be able to keep those assets. I think just a pure blockchain based game is something that people are really interested in seeing come to light, right?
And I think the reason that you can say almost 100% for sure that people are going to love what the world is going to look like when this is all done is that if you think of any major traditional game where there are assets in game, there's almost always a black market, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you can sell your account, or like you arrange to drop a certain artifact at a certain place and time, and they pick it up and they send you money out of the game. So really,
it's very shady.
It's very shady. And it I remember I was playing. I don't even want to say the name of the game, but it was a game where I blew an unbelievable amount of money. Like just was the wrong time in my life, and I didn't have the psychological defenses to not do it. Anyway, I spent a lot of money, and I remember buying somebody's account, and I got possession of the account, and it's a way better account than I had, and so I'm playing the game, and then somebody else comes to me and says, the person who sold you that account stole it from me, and I want it back, and I'm going to go to the gamers. I'm like, holy, this is not cool. And this is the thing about blockchain, right? Blockchain is distributed trust. And so you don't have to kind of have out of the game ways of making sure that you trust the people you're dealing with, because it's in the game, right? And it's on the blockchain, and you can trust that any asset you have is your asset as long as you have your keys.
Yeah, of course. So let's have a little chat about how about the process of kind of building this out. You've got, to be honest, what I think is a very reasonable budget for the amount of work that you've got to do. It's $46,000, just over, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's to go from where you are now to actually put out the prototype so that people
that
can show it to VCs and kind of raise some more money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it'll be playable at that point. Probably not playable through the network. That's not really part of the scope. You can probably see that at the bottom of there's an out of scope section. that will take it from prototype to what we call MVP.
Hmm.
But from my many years of developing and running tech companies, one of the fastest things that you can do is to have like one guy coding, right? It's
who just knows where everything is.
That's right. It's the teamwork that kind of slows things down. So pushing out a prototype in a matter of a few months, I think, is very doable. Simon is completely jazzed about it and starting to get a head start on things ahead of the Catalyst grant, right? He'd like to be able to have already made quite a bit of progress by the time the Catalyst grant is approved, actually.
Yeah.
And also, we're not, it is a reasonable budget because it's a small number of people, and they're basically making it possible for them to take some time off from their regular employment before they make the going full time.
No, I completely understand. It's like, I think a lot of people very overshoot some spending, and sometimes people massively undershoot it. But this seems like it just seems very reasonable. You've got everything broken down. Actually, guys, go and check out the Catalyst proposal, right? Because it is really, really well written, and there's loads of detail on it, so you can really understand the scope of this proposal. Because I think that's quite important with this. But there's a lot going on, and I think the three of you, like, it's I mean, you know exactly how many days it's going to take you to do this stuff, right? Which is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we sat around and we did our project planning together and really question each other. Like, are you sure that's going to be this? What? Couldn't you do that this way and make it faster? So we had a really useful, frank and open discussion about how the project was going to unfold. And I think the plan is pretty solid. I think it's in the ballpark of being right. Of course, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but at the same time, I think this one's in the ballpark, and I expect we will have a prototype. One of the reasons I'm super excited about this overall is that because of the general decline in the market, a lot of the unserious projects are going to go away. They're like, okay, well, this was fun while it was super easy to raise money from anybody and there was FOMO everywhere. But now I'm I'm out. I didn't want to work hard. So exactly, right. So when we get to the end of this phase of crypto history, I think ZiberBugs is going to have a functioning product, and we're going to be one of the only games in town, especially on the Cardano network.
And I really wish you all the best with it, because I think I'm really excited to just give it a go, right? Because it does look really fun. It looked like when I was watching the video, I was trying to think about how I'd want to place my bugs to have an advantage over what I saw in the video. Like, I was thinking, how would I beat that? How could I beat that? And obviously you only really know by testing it, right? But it looks really fun. It looks like you could easily sink hours into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really, there's so many aspects of it that are exciting to me. I can't wait to play it. There's going to be a closed alpha. So after we have MVP and we kind of have the first network enabled and blockchain enabled version, there's going to be an alpha that's only open to people who apply. And they will get one of the benefits for them is they're going to get these ancestor NFT bugs, because the breeding system means you have to start with some bugs. And so we're going to mint 999 bugs, 333 of each of the 111 of each of the 9 varieties. And then they will be used to make the next generation, and so on and so on. But those, if you're a believer in sort of NFTs and value, and these NFTs, of course, are also functional, they play inside the game, then you want to have one of those, because those are going to, as this game becomes big and popular, and those NFTs are going to be, they're extremely rare, and they're going to be very valuable.
Yeah, and that's something you see all the time with like kind of generational NFTs. Like what was the first one? The cats one? I can't remember at all. My brain's just stopped.
Crypto kitties? Is that it?
Crypto kitties? Yeah. Like some of those like first generation ones are worth so much money. Like, and everything else kind of, I think it's below about the fifth generation or something, are little to nothing. Right. It's those first ones and the second and third generation ones that are really hold their value. And
I should probably add that we've given that a lot of thought too. One of the I would say, problems with Axie Infinity is that the way the breeding system works, you get this combinatorial explosion in the number of NFTs. And so, of course, supply and demand, the value goes down.
Yeah.
And we restrict the amount that you can breed quite dramatically so that it will never go crazy. It will always be proportional to the number of active players.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because that's one of those mechanics that, like you say, kind of needed a version 1 to test to really see what would happen over a couple of years. I mean, you could never really, I don't think when they were putting that together, they really thought beyond like what the risk with there just being that many around, right?
No, I think we've all learned a lot from this last few years in crypto and how things go, right? Like if we ever decide to build a bridge, we're gonna be keeping very much clearly in mind the Ronin hack, right, and making sure that everything we do is secure. Now, I actually think that that Cardano has a leg up on most of the other networks in that way. One of the cool things is that the NFTs exist right on chain. There's no smart contract required to mint an NFT on Cardano, which takes a lot of the complexity out of it and a lot of the attack surface, right, for potential issues. I'm just a huge fan of Cardano and how they've put it together and learned from what went before.
So speaking of, what are there any real challenges or anything that you think your team faces putting out this prototype?
Well, in a way, and of course, that's one of the questions on the grant application, right? What are the risks? Anybody with a comp sci degree or experience programming will know that that's what prototypes are for. They're to remove risks, right? So right now, I'd say we have quite a few risks. Like, is it going to be fun? Yeah. The way we have it conceived. What about the technical risks, right? Is it going to be reasonable to, like, what about Unity? And how does Unity talk to the blockchain? And how's all that going to work, right? What about is it possible to get even something like getting the 3D models to have few enough polygons so that it can be properly and quickly rendered on a phone, right? All of these things need to be sorted out. And that's, when you're prototyping on a big project in comp sci land, what you do is you pick the risks. You go, okay, what are our biggest risks? That's what the prototype's going to be all about. Yeah. So we're going to be nailing a bunch of our biggest risks by going through this. And so the process of going from prototype to MVP will have those risks removed. I mean, I'm sure there'll be other risks, right? Yeah, but it actually gives you space to deal with bigger problems up front and then tackle smaller ones as they kind of show their face. Yeah. I think it's get the big blocks in place and go, this whole thing, everything we've done is solid. We know this talks to this. We know that this is the pattern with which it scales as traffic goes up. This is how the blockchain integration is going to go and at what point in time, because you can't, no matter how fast your blockchain is, you can't keep up with a game. It's going to be, every game is going to be de facto layer 2. And then you settle later to the blockchain, just like any bank, right? Yeah. Makes sense. I think that's the only way you can have stuff interacting and changing fast, right? And then only after game do you have to worry about committing it to the blockchain. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, how long do you have to trust the game database? Only as long as it takes you to get to the settlement part. Yeah, which is 9 rounds. I mean, you could settle after every game, right? Oh, okay. Not every round, but yes, after 9 rounds, you could go, okay, and there's nothing much to settle before the game is over, because when the game is over, that's when you would get whatever assets you earn. One of the interesting things about this game too is that you have to win the game to get the assets, right? I think that's quite a good thing though, right? Because otherwise you would have to be dishing out twice as many assets, or at least a multiplier of that. So it means you can control the amount of breeding that happens, the amount of rewards and what's released into the wild, really. So it actually, I think that's a really good system to have. Yeah, it's got to be that way, I think, under the category of things we've learned from people who went before. But also, the adrenaline just wouldn't be there if you're like, I'm gonna get my stuff no matter what. I don't really care.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like this Tarkov game that I'm playing, right? Where
Okay, yeah.
you can get as much stuff as you want on the map. You can pick up all these little bits, but if you die before you get out, then it's all for nothing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
maybe
is
a bit
like
more extreme.
Yeah. Is it like a roguelike game? Like we were playing the game we were playing a lot lately was Hades.
Oh right, yeah. I haven't played Hades, but I've seen it, and it does look good fun. Like good fun.
Oh yeah.
This is like yeah, this is like you just basically get dropped in a map, and you need to get to one of several extractions, and it just gives you like a list of 4 or something, and 1 or 2 of them are guaranteed, and the others are like maybe these will be around or not. So
yeah, there's randomness in the experience, but the music is hardcore and the gameplay is really fun, and it scales up to be quite hard. You know, anyway, Hades is great. There's so many great games, right? And we want to suck as many of these great concepts from the world into ZiberBugs as we can manage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, from looking at the videos and kind of watching what you've been working on, I think it's I think it's going to be really good fun. And the strategy part of it really kind of appeals to me. So I think it's kind of my style of game as well. And we just need to get you funded. Tom, that's all. Right. We need to get you funded so we can get this out. So what's the rough time scale for it, like for the proposal?
Yeah, well, we've always felt like it would take about a year to build the whole game, but the proposal is meant to happen in a couple of months. Couple or 3 months. It really, again, they are not going to be able to be 100% allocated.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm not expecting, Wednesday, the 16th of October or something like that, obviously. But okay, so say that you get probably end of year. Well, by the time funding actually comes through to you, it'll probably be around end of November, December, maybe January.
Yeah. And we're going to get a bit of a head start, so I'd say we'll probably be able to complete the scope of the project more like, late October, early November. That's my guess.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, you can watch Simon develop if you want.
Yeah, that's just kind of piques my interest a little bit. It'll definitely be something that I check out because it's just when you're working at home, like especially on any kind of programming or something, sometimes it's nice to like just have something in the background or have something else going on. So every now and then you can just be like, oh, what's happening over there? And you know, like so.
We're committed to this. We're going to make this happen no matter what. But the Catalyst grant's going to make it much faster, which is what catalysts are supposed to do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And the more projects I think that we can actually fund with Catalyst or kickstart with Catalyst, the better, really. Mm-hmm. Especially stuff like this, which will open it up to kind of the broader crypto community for a start. And then as an extension, kind of everyone who's interested in playing these kinds of games.
Well, people underestimate how huge video games are. It's $180 billion a year market. That's just like the core of it. Which is bigger than, just to put it in perspective, it's bigger than movies and sports combined, right?
That's mental.
It is. It's absolutely crazy, right? But all the movies in the world, all the NFL teams and soccer teams, football teams that exist,
for me, to be honest.
Okay, there you go. Is smaller by a wide margin than the video game world, and so I've heard a lot of people say, and I tend to agree, that video games are going to be the killer app to get people involved in crypto, right?
Yeah.
There are billions of people who like to play video games, and if even some small portion of them jump on the crypto bandwagon in order to play, they got to have a wallet, they have to have a basic understanding of crypto, and they're going to start to go, oh, what about this project and this thing? And it's the gateway drug, if you will, to get a whole bunch of new, young and middle-aged people involved in crypto that otherwise probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, and this is one of actually the big things about crypto. It's like it's different for people like us who are quite interested in it as a concept, but until we have like the kind of utility that anyone can dip their toes in, we'll never really make it beyond this point, I don't think. And this is one of the easy gateways.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I remember how horrendous and stupid looking the World Wide Web was in 1996, right? And regular people were like, I don't get it. I don't. This is never going to be turned into Mozilla. This is a dumb looking, like, this is the best we can do. And obviously a lot has happened since then. It's the fastest. The internet itself, right, has been one of the fastest adopted things ever in the history of humankind. Far faster than electricity and telephones and washing machines, right? The internet beat all of that. And crypto is faster than that. So getting into crypto now, because you're an enthusiast or you're ahead of the curve or whatever it is, that's like buying Microsoft stock in 1996.
Yeah. I think in 1996, all I was doing on a computer was playing Lemmings and Doom. Like they were the two games I played growing up, because I never had like a console or anything until like a PS2. But I used to love Doom and Lemmings. And I used to play Lemmings so much that I had about 900 levels of passwords. So on bits of paper, like double-sided, me and my sister used to play all day. Like it was, it was one of those silly games that were just really addictive and fun. Yeah. And sometimes you just like the nuke button, I think, was one of those things that you thought, oh, sometimes I just got to get rid.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It speaks to the broad appeal of video games, which I don't have to tell you. I mean, they're incredibly popular, and yeah, I think the marriage of crypto and video gaming is meant to happen, and it's going to be very, very good for the crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up or you wanted to talk about that we haven't really touched on yet?
Oh gosh, I mean, I'd love to invite everybody to join our community. There's we're not actively kind of raising money at the moment because the market is terrible, but if you want to be kind of first in line when the NFTs are available, or when there's an opportunity to get into a funding round by buying Zyber, you're going to want to be following us on Twitter or Discord or Telegram, and you can find all those links at ZiberBugs.io on the website.
Yeah. And I'll put them in the description below as well, guys.
That's fantastic. Yeah. No, I think we've covered it. I think we've done a really good coverage of everything to do with it, and I'm super excited to be the CEO of this company, and I think the Catalyst grant is going to kick us into high gear and really get things going. So I couldn't be more pleased with the whole situation.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I wanted to ask about was you're currently running an ISPO as well, aren't you, with some stake pool operators?
That's right. We have a partnership with the xSPO, which is the extra small pool operators, and we have 63 pools that are all giving out Zyber in addition to giving out ADA. So sign up for one of those pools and you can get some Zyber. We've actually it's a really interesting community, and we have one gentleman who goes to the blockchain and prints out the reports of. I've learned a lot by how this works. He prints out the reports of exactly how many delegators and how much ADA are on all of those pools. And then that goes into, I have a spreadsheet where we calculate, and there's another thing, the vending machine on Seal Pool, that people can go and get their Zyber rewards. A little bit like drip drops, but the fees are much, much lower.
I know Seal and the vending machine.
Yeah. So the whole xSPO community has really been amazing. And more power to the small stake pool, individual pool operators of the world, right? When it's not an easy thing to start a pool, and I think if you can go support them, you'll be helping them out. You'll be helping Cardano out by making the protocol more decentralized. It's a good thing to do.
And you'll be helping yourself as well by getting involved early in the project.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so those are really good guys. Actually, I'll make a shout out to Rhys from the Earn Coin Pool. Who has been he's been our liaison to all things xSPO. He's a great guy. He's been very, very helpful. So if you want to delegate to Rhys, I know he'd be pleased.
Yeah, definitely. I actually know the xSPO guys quite well, and they're all or at least the majority of them, are so technical in their spaces as well. Like the size of their pool is not a reflection of their understanding of how everything works. In fact, I think they're a little bit more informed than a lot of SPOs out there. They're a really cool bunch.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think the size of the pool is a marketing function more than anything, right? But it reminds me of like the hobbyists who used to put together computers from Radio Shack back, before it was mainstream. And so they love it, right? The amateur means that you do it because you love it, as opposed to getting paid to do it. Now, of course, they'd like to get paid to do it as well. But, I think that I can imagine being in their shoes and how cool it would be to work through the issues in these early days of setting up a pool and how do I get my relay nodes and all of that stuff. I think it's a great time to be involved in crypto. Yeah,
I agree. So have you ever built a PC of your own?
I've never. I helped the same son that I was talking about who plays chess with me. We built a PC together. He's not shy, so he's like for Christmas he says, "Oh, here's my list of parts that I want," and and everyone's like, it took Christmas and a birthday to get all of those parts, and he built this gaming PC.
I love it.
Yeah. He's my little.
They have crazy RGB lights all over it.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like a parade or something.
I didn't realize I actually would enjoy something like building a PC until I actually did it, and then I was like, "Oh, that was fun! I really want to do another one." And I thought, "Why do I need 2 PCs?" I tried to justify it for a while. I thought, I could use this for this and this for that, but realistically, I spent enough money on this one.
Take your existing one and add like water cooling or.
I actually water cooled my stake pool, so it's made of Raspberry Pis, and they're all water cooled, and they live in like a PC case, but with all the nodes in there. So I run it off solar power, and it's got a water cooling system, radiator, and a big reservoir and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and,
wow.
It's pretty random, but it's really cool.
How does it work? I don't know if this is part of the scope of what you want to talk about, but how does it work to have multiple Raspberry Pis? Is it like one relay node and one? How do you divide it up, if I may?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. So one Pi basically is one node.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I would actually love to do that. If I had time, I would create a project just like that for myself.
Well, that was me like curing the itch after I built my PC. I thought, I need to build something else. And then I kind of got on, I realized that it was possible. I met some of the guys, xSPOs actually, some of them are also in the Armada Alliance. And another really great group of SPOs who had figured it out. And so I was like, wait, it's possible? Let's do this. And it was really fun.
I love that you can do that with Raspberry Pis on Cardano, where you need a mountain of ASICs or something to do it on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it just shows the difference between the whole philosophies of the blockchain, right? And the way that the protocol works, like just how different it is, because people often just batch those things together as crypto. And I think my camera's frozen, but I'm still here. I think I don't know if it's run out of battery or what. Well, at least it didn't capture you in an extremely awkward facial moment, because that's worse. I'm very expressive, right? So most of the time when that does happen, I look like Jim Carrey. Okay. So just a bit of a mess, really.
I got you.
But brilliant. Well, listen, I don't want to take up any more of your time, Tom, but I could literally talk about different things like this for ages. So we'll call it here. Especially seeing as my camera's broken now.
Right.
I really appreciate you coming on to talk about it. I really like this project, and I'm really excited to give it a try once this gets funded and you get your prototype out. So definitely shoot me a message when that's. Well, I'll keep at hold of your social channels to find out more.
Super. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us on the channel. It's great to be helping to spread the word and get people interested in the project. So we appreciate your help.
Yeah, no problem at all. And if there's anything else that you need any help with, just send me a message and we'll sort it out.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
All right, brilliant, Tom. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
Right, guys, that's it for this episode. I hope you learned a lot about the project and what they're trying to achieve. Definitely go and check them out. Proposals, links, everything is in the description below. Follow them on Twitter. I'm really quite interested in the live streaming development of the game. That's going to be a really cool thing. And when that comes out, I'll pop a link in for that as well in the description. All right, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, etc., etc. Make sure you've registered for Catalyst if you haven't already. I mean, you should, if you voted before, you should still be allowed to vote, but just check, okay? Because you don't want to get to voting and not be able to do it. If you've missed that snapshot, you're out. So make sure you go and double check. Definitely check out the ZiberBugs proposal. It's linked down below. And like, subscribe, etc., etc. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you then.